Going into Super Tuesday, a lot of the candidates' teams have been all over the place for weeks, for months, laying the groundwork for what's going to happen on Tuesday. But not all of them have been doing that. Joe Biden apparently has been slacking off when it comes to the organizing. And so interviews with party leaders in half a dozen Super Tuesday states suggest that some of the same vulnerabilities that plagued Mr. Biden beginning in Iowa, so like subpar organization, limited outreach to local Democrats, and a late start to campaigning, are holding him back now in states that next week will dole out a third of the total delegates in the Democratic primary. So look, he didn't intend to do particularly well in Iowa or in New Hampshire. He wanted to do well in Nevada, and in particular in South Carolina. So I sort of get that they didn't put a lot of their resources into Iowa, but Super Tuesday is the thing. And apparently there are a lot of people. This is not like the other candidates' staff that's saying this. This is party leaders, some of whom probably support Joe Biden, but they're saying that he's not really showing up. Aside from fundraising, he hasn't campaigned in a Super Tuesday state in over a month, though he is planning to visit North Carolina, Alabama, Virginia, Texas, and California between Saturday and Tuesday. So there will be some campaigning, but that's literally in the last 4 or 5 days.
And he's like hoping that the momentum from South Carolina is going to be what carries him into Super Tuesday with some sort of success. South Carolina is like 3 days before Super Tuesday. It's not a ton of time for that success to trickle into actual votes in the many, many states they're going to be voting on Super Tuesday.
I wonder. So I've predicted that like you said that you could get momentum certainly, but that like how much time do you have to raise money, let alone to actually spend it? But I think the wild card potentially is that South Carolina is one of the first 4 states. More diverse than the others, certainly, so it is important. But I think there's a very real chance that the media is going to greet a Joe Biden win. They're gonna lose their minds. And so to the extent that the media can contribute to momentum, I think that they are 100% going to do that in a way that they have not so far. Very rarely do they even acknowledge that Bernie Sanders won the first 3, let alone that he's a front runner. I mean, Chuck Todd just like a week ago was saying he's not one of the front runners. But if Biden wins in South Carolina, I don't think Chuck Todd is gonna be like, well, let's put that in the context of the troubles he's had so far.
Historic, epic victory in South Carolina.
It will be historic in that it'll be his first primary win ever.
I guess that's why I don't have a ton of faith that it's gonna happen.
Yeah. I mean, I just wonder though, if you live in California, Texas, I mean, we're going through all the Super Tuesday states. If you live in any of these states and it's suddenly Biden pulls off one in South Carolina, what the hell does that have to do with you? I just never understand this momentum talk. I get momentum in the fact that if he does something well and everyone, it's caught on with people, something that originates with him, not something that happens in another state. There's such a division of states. People in certain states take pride in not following the lead of another state. No, we don't do that in California. Oh man, down here in Texas, this is how we do it. There's no, oh man, I'm a Texan. Look what happened in South Carolina. Joe Biden won. I guess I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna follow South Carolina. It doesn't really happen that way. And as you said, I think the biggest boost is potentially them saying, hey, Joe Biden just landed in South Carolina, so then therefore he must be landing everywhere else. But people have to see it. And I know we got some of the details, the way people are a bit, I wouldn't even say disappointed, just a little bit surprised. They're like, I haven't seen Joe Biden. I guess he doesn't really think, either he thinks that he's got this wrapped up in my particular state, or he doesn't care to get it in my particular state.
Yeah, I think it's just more of a subtle psychological phenomenon where people don't even realize it, but the people who aren't anchored to one candidate will respond because of the perception of that candidate being a winner. So that's why the whole. That's why Bernie Sanders winning the first 3 contests was so important, even though the media won't repeat that he's a winner. But Joe Biden winning 1 state potentially, and then being talked about as a winner would be a huge get for him. But again, it's just not that much time before the next primary.
I mean, an independent voter that switches over because of momentum like this in one state is the type of person that'll get into a 45-minute line in the freeway instead of cutting around. I'm just sorry. The people who do that, it's a lot of them, by the way, so maybe it actually will mean something. I never understand people who look at something and see how bad it could be and go, well, everyone else is doing it, I guess I'll do it too. That seems like a 5-year-old's mentality.
I knew you were cutting me off. But anyway, let's give some more details. So Mr. Biden's on-the-ground operations are apparently easily dwarfed by both Senator Sanders and Michael Bloomberg. Some party chairmen and other party leaders said they hadn't heard from Mr. Burden. He holds a burden, several of them, but Mr. Biden personally, a contrast with Mr. Bloomberg. And Mary Mancini, the chairwoman of the Tennessee Democratic Party, said on Monday that she hadn't heard from Mr. Biden's senior staff either. She said Mr. Biden had a natural constituency in the state, but added, quote, Biden might be taking those voters for granted. So just hypothetical, this is purely hypothetical, totally hypothetical. What if we ended up with a nominee who took voters in certain states for granted? What effect could that have? A little bit more though. Examples, in California, Mr. Bloomberg has 24 offices and more than 300 staff members. Sanders has 23 offices and just over 100 staff members, according to their campaigns. The Biden office in East LA is the only one in the state, and his campaign declined to say how many staff members it had on the ground. So I'm assuming 1,000. They had one office.
This is what happens when the campaign doesn't put its resources towards organizing.
It's California.
Yeah, but they already know it's gone. It's gone. It's Warren or Bernie, but it's definitely Bernie. Those are the two polling leaders here, right? And so they care about. There was a report that Biden was spending a crazy amount on private jets from the money that he'd been raising, and so this is a campaign that doesn't value organizing, and it goes to show, and it's why he's tanking and failing miserably.
Well, it was going off the name, of course. Hopefully, the name recognition will be there. And I'm sorry, I'm still surprised that we're talking about this difference in money. He's got less than half of what Sanders got. Of course, everyone's got less than what Bloomberg has got. But that surprised me. This is the guy who's taking corporate money, of course. He's unapologetic, it's fine, whatever. We know that's what it is. And will work in those realms as the establishment guy. So where's the money? I'm confused.
They max out. They max out. The big donors max out when they can't give anymore, and so then Biden has to go try to find new rich people to donate to him. But when you have someone who can raise money $10, $15 at a time, they're not maxing out on their contributions. So that's why Biden's money is drying up.
Yeah. Well, can I give you an example of how that manifests really fast? Biden's campaign announced on Wednesday that it's going to run television, radio, and digital ads in some Super Tuesday states. It's a 6-figure effort on the most important day of the election. By comparison, Mr. Bloomberg has spent $184 million just on Super Tuesday ads. Tom Steyer has spent $37 million. Mr. Sanders has spent $14 million. Sanders is being outspent by Mike Bloomberg by, what is that, like 13, 14, 15 times as much spending.
Yeah, don't ask me to do math, but yeah.
It's outrageous.
This iPad has a Bloomberg ad on it right now. I'm kidding, that's not actually happening, but you can imagine.
Well, it's crazy. So again, this guy who's a front runner, former vice president, has all this name recognition. I still don't get it. It's like you have to travel when you go to the grocery store. You look, we were talking about Totino's pizza rolls. You can't. Biden at this point can't get the pizza rolls. He's got to get like the Kroger brand like pizza nuggets.
I thought the analogy was that like Totino's can coast on their name recognition, but an upstart pizza roll has to put in the work.
He's got to buy the off-brand. He's got to get the charms of luck rather than the Lucky Charms.
Bernie is the healthier option. The Annie's pizza rolls. That's the ones I like.
Organic.
Pepperoni explosion.
Okay.
Don't miss your chance to win a trip to Los Angeles and have dinner with Cenk, John, and me. Just head to tyt.com/dinnerinla to register to win. Sign up for a free Aspirations Spend and Save account. Then you just register your eligibility and swipe your Aspiration card daily on purchases to gain entries. Not only are you entering to win a trip to Los Angeles and dinner with TYT hosts, you're also not depositing your hard-earned money into fossil fuel exploration or production. As a friendly reminder, even if you already have an Aspiration account, you must still register for eligibility into the sweepstakes.